more European than I had thought, because I have already been in Turkey, and Turkey is more Turkey than, and I mean, not European than Vietnam. Yeah, I mean Istanbul in general, but when I'm here, I'm feeling that I'm in Italy, but a little bit more southern. Maybe, yes, Sicily, maybe, yeah. So for me, it's not that different from what I know from Southern Europe in general. Also, as I said, I see a sort of similarity with people from Poland. People want to go forward, they really want to work with the possibility they have, which is a positive energy. What struck me is the great amount of statues here in the city.
This is socialist.
with his thing, because I told him yesterday, they look very massive. This is what the only thing that I think is a reference to the past of the Russian past, the massivity in sculptures and some houses. But in general, it's more elegant than, for example, some cities in Poland or whatever. So for me, it looks very the attractive southern part, like we like because I live in Northern Europe. The aspect that we like from southern people, I can find it here. Good food, nice weather, beautiful women, and yeah, a lot of green, a lot of trees in the city. I would even call it expressionist, like the Flemish expressionist or the German expressionist.
Yes.
Yesterday, what was the statue we saw from the architect?
Tamania.
Yeah, with the big
the
hands,
founder of YEREVAN.
with the large hands and large body. So this is really what I see as a sort of, as a sort of reference to the,
Armenia is socialistic realism in general, but Tamania is expression.
Yes,
actually, it is
like we also have this Flemish expressionism. Also have work with big hands, big proportions, differences, and so I kind of like that. It's less static and less aggressive than say the Russian futurism or constructivism. Piano player, I like the piano player. Yeah, I like that much. Really nice. I like that. Yeah. And also at the Cascade there is now a sort of exhibition.
Yes. Well, they are not Armenian.
I know, but I know that we discussed about Botero.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, but I read about the Botero, but he tries to hit the happiness is a sort of metaphor of happiness. So the people consider this just like a physical way, but it's different. It's a different kind of massiveness than what you see in the architecture.
No, their faces are quite satisfying.
Yes,
they
are full of happiness.
And the cat.
And I really use this way of thinking in one of my picture books. Because, but in a negative way. So anyway, what could I say?
Best wish.
Oh, yeah, I think what I realize, well, I know it, but I see it again, that the language, the visual language is universal. It works everywhere in the same way. And I hope that that will remember that children are more smarter and more adult than we usually think. Yeah. That's why I start from, don't forget to put content in your drawings, because children are also hunger for your opinion, for your ideas. It's not just sweetness, it's not just colors. They want to know about life from us adults, so give them as much as possible.
She says that there is some small danger with some cliches of using the language of image of some nations or some sociums, some structures. For instance, some cliches of a German, of an Armenian will not be understood by
okay, this way. Yeah, that's why I go beyond this. For me, I talk about more universal stories. Universal. In my work, I try to eliminate borders because it's an invention of man. But I think in brains cross borders, ideas cross borders, and I think, and adding to what I just said, I think what I try to do that's why I would like to travel more around is that books are too often considered as a sort of entertainment, while I think it's the same way as art in general. As I said, books and stories should be a sort of reflection of our hopes, our thoughts, our feelings, and it can be a sort of conciliation for children, bring comfort for children if they recognize their doubts, their feelings in a picture book. That's why I think books must not necessarily be easy. It can be even a quite difficult subject. Like my book Applesauce is about the conflict between a father and a son. I know that in some countries they say, oh, it's so confronting, you cannot do this for children. But I know that every child in the world experiences sometimes struggles with their parents. If they have a book in which they experience that it's possible and other children also have this problem, it can bring comfort to their own. That's what I mean, that the book should be kind of mirror, a sort of reflection. And that's what we search in general in art. We want to see a sort of exported feeling of our thoughts. And that's what I mean by ideas that across borders. That's universal. This book has been sold to 14 languages. Because even Japanese fathers, Mexican fathers, Canadian fathers have the same
She meant some of the cliches, and she brought an example of the commercial for Marlboro.
Yeah.
As far as in Armenia it was taken, we understood our audience to keep as commercial about horses, not about the singer. And I think exactly you are right, because this was commercial based on.
Yeah, but that's the danger about symbols and metaphors. Of course, they can be understood. So that's also the part of the thinking that you have to go beyond cliches and to avoid. I just first day I did a presentation, and one of the first things I said, try to step outside the evidence, go a step further. I showed a picture of a dead girl, and then I said it was about an African country where has been a disaster, so everybody photographs the dead person. But there was one photographer that went a step further, and he photographed photographers that were photographing the girl, which was, in my opinion, much stronger than the most obvious thing. And that's what the beginning, we're back to the beginning, that's why researching, thinking is so important. And so today, in the day, so we're going to sort of round up the report. It's very short. You going to, the audio is going to be on the website or? Okay, it's good. Good, you're right there. All right. Okay, that's okay.
So you can say everything.
That's why my concern. Okay.
She wants to know your opinion about the participants. Do you think they have got perspectives? They have got capability and capacity to develop themselves towards the new challenges of illustration and book illustration?
It's hard to say because every student has, or every participant has a different level. Generally, my impression is that they are a little bit afraid of experimenting. They are quite traditional in the way they work, but that's something I experience with my students in my academy too. It looks like they are afraid of making mistakes, and I think this is a process. This is the essence of learning, that you make mistakes and you learn that it's even important to know what is wrong than what is right. So it's also good to know what you cannot do or what is not good for an illustration. So it's not interesting only to know what is good. It's also interesting to know what doesn't work. So I deliberately would like to stimulate them to make mistakes so that they can know, oh, this doesn't work. If you don't do this, then you will never.
Well, the idea, is it connected to text or it is just the idea? So where do you get the text to put it together?
Well, we start from the idea that it's inside the drawing. We don't try to work with text now. So I feel comfortable with this way of working because what characterizes my style is the way of thinking. I think that my opinion is that content is even much more important than execution. And in schools they focus too much on technique and execution and they forget the content. And I have developed a style of thinking that I try to export. Because in my opinion it's very important, it's even more important to have good thinking as the base of the drawing, then start to execute in function of your idea. While they usually work the other way around. They start from a technique and they use always the same technique and they put an idea in it. My opinion is start from their idea and then try to find the right technique to execute this idea in the best possible way. Because content, the way you do it, is the most personal aspect of art. Because everybody can use Photoshop. So if you focus on the technique of Photoshop, you will have clothes. Because everybody in the world in the same technique, you will have the same result. So, in my opinion, if you want to create a sort of personality, you have to work with the idea as an aspect of personality, not technique. Because techniques can be copied, ideas cannot be copied.
Do you think whether you have an interest or a kind of idea that you contacting with the students and to make some possibly the ideas important projects?
In the future, after this, honestly I haven't thought about this, but of course now students start to contact me through Facebook and probably will stay in contact with some students. And if they would come to Europe or, well, I am thinking about, I'm also teaching at the Academy of Aper and changing some students and teachers. So this could be a possibility to have a follow-up. But otherwise it will stay with personal contact. So I think they can still contact me to give them advice anyway. But I try to give them now as much as possible of my knowledge and what I think it's important for them and they don't teach at regular schools. And then from a very, very practical way, I talked about how they get paid, how you get paid, how you have to ask for money. And what is the importance of copyrights and how do you have to sell yourself on the internet? How do you promote yourself? How do you make a portfolio? These are schools, but these are even important as your artwork itself. I mean, if the school stops, what's the next step? You're there, you're the market, and then it's not only drawing, it's also marketing yourself. And I have a background as in commercial art. So for me, it's a possible combination. For many people, it's not possible. For me, it's possible. You can be authentic, artistic, and commercial. I mean, marketing yourself, because everybody wants to see get his art published and spread around the world. Nobody will say no if you offer it. So, how do you do it? Does it mean that you agree with it? Okay. Yeah, but that's because we are a small culture. We have to go abroad. Yeah.
You say it about us, but we don't know actually how to market in arts. We know how to make business, how to sell it.
Yeah, you have
art is a hard thing.
You have a business culture, I know.
Yeah,